So Anna presented about the vocabulary. That's an important foundation to all of our CDMs. Claire's mentioned about building our data diagnostic tool so that we know what the content of the CDM is to know which databases could be used to generate evidence. But our mission is about generating the evidence itself. And we recognize that generating evidence and doing network studies is hard. And so one activity that we had prompted that we wanted to reconvene this year was the Save Our Sisyphus challenge as an opportunity to collaboratively do a very large network study together to lower the barriers to entry and to really focus ourselves on generating reliable evidence. So network studies are hard. Anybody who's participated in one knows this. Anybody who tells you that it's not is lying. It is hard work to do a network study, and it becomes exponentially harder when you have more and more data partners on more and more technical environments doing more and more advanced statistics. And yet our community is all about doing large-scale analysis to answer very difficult clinical questions that are important to patients, and we want to do it across as many databases as possible. So the fact that it's hard shouldn't be a detriment to us. It's just a matter of us coming together to solve the hard problem. So George has published this paper. We've shown this image many times about the ways in which we collaborate. We talk about methodological collaborations in data standards, open source developed methods, research, and clinical evidence generation goes into our distributed network where we're using data standards and using our open source tools. But this section in blue is all about how do we collaborate together to do network studies. It starts with having a good clinical question that we can fully specify in a protocol with analysis specifications. It involves producing analysis code that data partners within the network can take, download, execute in their own environments. It involves data partners sharing aggregate summary statistics together into some common repository. And then it involves collaborative synthesis and interpretation of that information so that we can disseminate the clinical findings that we generate. This little blue segment is really hard. And we are continuing to advance the tools and processes for doing this, but make no mistake, it continues to be a challenge. And therefore, we want to focus a good chunk of effort this year on how to help learn about doing this process and do it collectively as a community so that we can get better at this hard task. So that's why today we are opening our next Save Our Sisyphus challenge. Jody will be leading this community effort for us, so I thank her for taking on the hard challenge that we've got. She's going to post in the chat now a link to another form. But our opening part of this process is for us to find good clinical ideas. So anyone in the community, all of you on this call, if you've got an idea of a question that's really relevant and important for patients, we want to hear from you. And what we're going to do is we're going to collect from the community all of the good ideas that you guys can come up with for the next month. We're going to identify a small subset of those and have them presented on a community call at the end of this month, or I guess first week of next month. And we will then go through the process of collaboratively conducting the network study based on that idea. Now, a reminder that we did this once before, actually like 6 years ago, and this actually was an effort that did result in a good idea coming from our colleague Isik Kim that resulted in a network study that did complete and generate results looking at the comparative safety and effectiveness of alendronate. And it involved a good number of data partners and collaborators on this study. Well, that was a long time ago, and the community is tremendously expanded in terms of data partners and other types of contributors. We've expanded the sophistication of our techniques and tools and methods. But the one thing that's constant from back then to now is that network studies are hard. And so we recognize that this needs a community collaborative effort to do this again. Now, one thing to try to help the process is that we recognize that we have standardized analytics that answer specific types of questions in efficient, scalable ways. We have analytic tools that support doing clinical characterization for questions about disease natural history and treatment utilization. We have tools for doing causal inference and population level effect estimation, whether it be questions of safety surveillance or comparative effectiveness. And we have tools for patient level prediction to train machine learning models to answer questions about disease interception and precision medicine. And all of these can be templated such that if you are thinking about asking your question, as long as you can tell us, as Claire was highlighting in data diagnostics, if you can tell us about your target cohort, tell us about your comparator cohort, tell us about your outcome, then you can formulate a question that can be well defined as a good, valid clinical question, and also can fit well into the OHDSI tools that we have standardized and tried to make run across our community. And so as you are thinking about your good clinical idea, we've provided on the survey this set of templated fill in the blanks, and you can take any of these and fill them in and be able to pose a question that could be a potentially viable question for our community. Now, Craig has showed before, we're trying to keep track of all the collaboration opportunities in our community week by week throughout the year of 2023. And when we showed this before, we highlighted that there were several things that were already in yellow. Of course, Aza and Gautam are going to be leading us through Phenotype February, and that'll be kicking off starting next week. But we're opening up the Save Our Sisyphus challenge for open research ideas now, because we want to give the community ample time to come up with good, relevant clinical questions that we can consider. Once we've request that you provide us your good ideas by the end of February, because on March 7th, we will identify a small subset of those ideas to present to a community call, and then we will open up voting to the entire community to decide what question we're going to go after as a community. Unlike last time, where it was a much smaller group of us that kind of made decisions, we really want this to be a community engaged effort where everybody is participating. So we want to hear your ideas. We want you to vote on your ideas. And by voting, you're not only just saying, I think that's a relevant question we should go after, but you're also voting by saying, I'd like to participate in this community effort. We're going to use the month of March to collect all of your votes and make sure that everybody's input has been heard. And then we'll kick off the Save Our Sisyphus challenge on March 28th, where we'll have a meeting to determine, to announce which question has been identified as the one we're going to go after as a community. And then we will kick off the project in earnest. And throughout the months of April and May, each week, we are going to be doing one critical step of doing a network study together as a community. We'll hold tutorials each week on our community calls about one step so that you learn how to do that. And we'll be providing office hours during the week so that those who are contributing can work through the process themselves and make sure that they're able to meaningfully contribute. So we're going to go through all the steps about doing data diagnostics, phenotype development and evaluation, designing and configuring an analysis specification for our OHDSI packages, executing a network study and sharing results, interpreting clinical diagnostics, study diagnostics, conducting an evidence synthesis to do meta-analysis of results, and then collaboratively interpreting the results. And the intention is, alongside this process, we're not only learning about the steps, but we're actually executing them for a shared collaborative idea. And we are jointly developing a publication based on our learnings and discovery that should be completed by the end of this process that we go through together. So very concretely, just another way to represent the same information, we are trying to create a very rigid project plan about how this is all going to work. And that's why I'm really excited that Jody has taken on the task of leading this for us, because we've got a lot to do as a community to get through this really hard task. We're asking you now to submit your ideas for clinical ideas, and by the end of February, we need to get those ideas down so that we can identify candidate ideas that will be presented at the start of March, so that you all can vote and pick one that we will define. And then throughout April and May, each of the weeks, we have a thematic focus that will provide a tutorial, provide the specific tasks that need to get done in office hours to support you all in doing it. Now, we are hoping that all of you are going to want to meaningfully contribute in whatever study that we choose. But Jody's going to be specifically reaching out to those of you to encourage your participation in a variety of ways, so that we know that everybody's jointly committed to this community activity, and that we're not scraping for people to do these individual tasks, but rather that we're all engaged together as one group to work through each of the steps as a community. So what do we need from you? So right now, what we need from you is good ideas of important clinical questions that matter to patients. What's your incentive for doing that? Well, if it is the case that your idea is chosen, you'll have the opportunity to be the principal investigator of this network study and to be a co-author of the work, and is up to your prerogative, but likely be the first author of an important piece of work here. So we want your ideas because that provides the chance for the community to weigh in on which idea we are going to prioritize. But one of our challenges is make sure that we get good ideas that really matter to lots of patients around the world. Second thing we need from you, if you have access to data, we want to know that you're going to be willing to actually participate in this distributed analysis. What you get by being a data partner, well, you're going to get to learn how to run data diagnostics for this study. And as Claire showed, this is a universal tool that's helpful for you to understand what if your data is fit for use for lots of other questions. So that'll be tremendously valuable for you. You're also going to get support from the community to make sure that your environment's set up to execute OHDSI packages. So for those of you who have been kind of on the fence and watching on the side because you thought it was going to be hard, well, it is going to be hard, but you're going to have folks that are going to get you through it if you engage and participate in this. Number three is if you're at an organization that has a data source and you're looking to make sure that people understand the value that your data can bring, well, this will be a great chance to showcase and provide visibility to your data source to show that it's fit for purpose. And as an individual, you're going to get recognition for your contributions as somebody who's eligible to be a co-author of this paper. Now, Erica currently holds the current OHDSI record for a network study with 26 data partners. She's been holding that over lots of people's heads about how she's got the biggest network study. And it's really bothering me that she gets to have that trophy on her mantle. So I'm hoping that whoever's gets this study will be able to have an even bigger network study than Erica's, so that she can be pushed down a peg to second in our community. But I think it's a good demonstration of what we can actually think about as a community, is if we really get everybody together and do something, we can actually do something that's really been unparalleled in the field at large. Last but not least, we're looking for individuals who want to lead and support those tutorials and office hours to assist the community in working through each step of the journey. We know the tasks that need to be done, and we have individuals in the community who have done bits and pieces of this. But we are going to need to make this a community effort. This isn't going to be me or Jody driving this. It's really going to be everybody coming together to pull this together. Of course, if you do participate as to help with any of the individual components or supporting the office hours, we will want to recognize your contributions as a potential co-author in the work. But also, this will be a great chance for those of you who are looking for opportunities to meet new folks. You can meet new folks, foster new collaborations, and if you help them out with this one, maybe they'll owe you a favor for the next one. So it's a great opportunity to build relationships in that way. All right, I want to highlight a document that our steering committee posted, I think now probably 2 years ago, just for everyone to remind themselves. We have specific authorship guidance as it relates to how we think about our network studies. And broadly speaking, we're trying to follow the ICMJE guidelines for authorship, which basically means what it means to be a co-author is to substantially contribute to either the conception, the design of the work, the acquisition or access to the data, analysis of the data, or interpretation of the results. And you contribute to drafting and reviewing the results, final approval, and being accountable for everything that's being done. It is very reasonable that we can have a large number of co-authors participate in this very large network study, because all of you have the opportunity to satisfy these authorship requirements by just actively engaging and participating in the process. And so want to encourage all of you to take advantage of this couple months together, where we're really meaningfully trying to spend our time and energy together as one community to answer a really important clinical question. Now, what I hope happens is that while network studies are hard, and they'll still be hard even after we do the Save Our Sisyphus challenge, maybe some of you will learn from the process and think about how you could run your own network study by following those same steps yourself. But all of you, whether you're the lead investigator or just contributing your one piece, you have an opportunity to meaningfully engage in this whole effort as a community so that we can demonstrate what the power of our community really can be. So with that, I'll just remind you all, please fill out the start with today. Fill out our Save Our Sisyphus challenge. You're going to be seeing a lot of communications from Jody, both on the forums and subsequently on all of our OHDSI calls, as she drives you all to engage and participate in this process. So come up with good clinical ideas and share them, and we're eager to figure out which of those we'll tackle as a community.